It's all at once, like overcast and gloomy, and it feels like it should be winter because it's, the 6th of November. Instead, it's hot as Hades and humid, but with all the gloom of winter. And I got very solemn, just reading, doing things. I was in my own headspace. And right as we go on, Tom's like, "Yo, man, we gonna click on that camera? we're gonna make ourselves known to the masses." I was like, "Oh, there's a little delay on this camera, and sometimes it screws things up." And I thought, well, we're done. We're not gonna make it. They'll just hear the voice. But alas, we did make it.
We're A-okay, man. Yeah, the doom and the gloom outside of a random rainy Wednesday, which we need terribly. It has not rained in forever.
Right. I think we have to do the obligatory old man thing where when it rains, you have to say, "Oh, we need the rain."
Well,
but we do.
It's
but
true.
But it's an old man thing to say.
I was getting a little raspy with the fall, ragweed pollen. I'm like, come on now, let's wash these streets. Let's wash these streets a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm happy we got that. I saw it outside my window today. I'm thinking, oh, look at this.
Yeah.
It's got a little winter flair to it. You're right.
You walked outside and went, what in the hell?
Well, so when I go to my parking garage, I get out the elevator, I go to the garage, you kind of get hit with it one way or the other. Like walking out of an airport in Tampa or Orlando, just walking out of the terminal and you go, oh, well, okay. It's going to be that kind of trip. That's what it was like.
Well, and it's especially true when you come back from like Ireland. That you land and you go, oh, that's right. I'm sure it'll be that way when we get off the plane in Chicago. Although I will say that doesn't look that cold. I think we're going to get some low 50s, low 40s, maybe high 30s on Saturday. A little bit of rain on Sunday.
You might not even be in the heated tent. You might just be outside enjoying the elements at that point.
Won't need the heated tent. Won't need the heated tent, buddy. I think we're going to be all right. That's just a little garnet and gold pullover. I know that sounds like shameless promotion, but we both got two really nice ones before we headed off to Ireland.
Yep.
And they are sweet. Can't wait to pull one on, buddy. I've been waiting. Soon enough, we'll get to do it here. Lord knows it's the little things these days, friends. It's just the little things that you embrace, that you're able to get through when it involves FSU. Like, do you have some nice gear? I do. I've got some nice gear, thanks to Garnet and Gold. I don't expect to wear it during a win of any kind, but I've got some nice gear. So it's the little things. At least you look sharp when you make your way up to Chicago to get your ass beat. You look sharp when you walk into that stadium amongst the Notre Dame faithful. They're like, this guy's walking into this stadium with a great deal of Florida State pride. Look at him. That's right. And he looks good, doesn't he? Yeah, I got to admit, he does. He looks good. That's a sharp-looking outfit he's got there. All for this ass beating. That's a loyal fan. I used to say that. I never thought we'd be on the other end. Oh, sure, occasionally. But I used to marvel during the heyday of Florida State's run in the 90s, where every Saturday, if it was an ACC foe that was coming to town, was name your score Saturday. Here comes a buckle up if you're on the opposing team. Here comes an ass beating. Here comes this is over in a quarter and a half. Here comes, man, you really did just want to see the campus, didn't you? Because you didn't come here expecting to compete. And I always did, from afar, really admire those loyal fans. Like if you came here from Duke, it's like, really? You may lose by 70 today. And here you are with all your gear, all your Duke gear.
I believe the Duke fans are, there's a higher clip of rope belts for the Duke fans.
Probably, right? Yeah. Little country club.
Mm-hmm.
Little country club to them.
It's got that spandex,
with Wake as well. Yeah, but for years, and I did, and everybody would. I had friends in the 90s, the early 90s, that would be like, they're students, and they'd be laughing. They'd be they'd be like, well, this, and that, and then I'd say, well, you kind of have to admire them. You have to admire they came here. It's 100 degrees outside. Their team is going to get lapped by 45 in the first half. And there they are. And they weren't selling beer at that stadium at that time, Tom. There was just you out here living the sober life in the stadium, trying to take it all in for what it was. That's the way it went down. So I kind of feel like we're having to wear a little bit of that. Too much of it. Little goes a long way. I'm going this weekend as a fan, not a media member. I'm going as a fan, walking in there as a fan. Got to hope for something to cheer for as a fan early on. I do love the clash of uniforms. I do love the setting. I do love the city of Chicago. This will be like the 15th time I've been to Chicago. So there's a lot of things I'm excited. I'm excited for my kids to walk into that stadium, no matter what kind of fun we make of South Bend, which we do, or even what kind of fun we have at Notre Dame's expense over the years. We do acknowledge they're part of the fabric of college football, an essential part of college football all time. And so any chance you get to go to a game in that stadium, and especially to watch your kids go to a game in that stadium and check it off the list of places to go, it's exciting. I mean, I do. That is the benefit of getting older as a fan, getting older as a sports guy, if you will. I mean, is that your perspective changes some from being as vitriolic and angry all the time at anybody that would dare try to defeat your team to understanding how it all works, and it's necessary that they exist, and some traditions are greater than others, and they make up the great storyline. Like the whole big male soap opera, as we used to call it, is made up of all of these characters, and some are prominent figures, prominent characters in the movie. Notre Dame's a big one.
What'll be curious is how they handle themselves, how they comport themselves on a game day in South Bend. Last time we found them to be small, insecure, and non-hospitable. But I would imagine in a situation like this year where Notre Dame is in the driver's seat to go to the playoff, and they've, when Kelly handed off to Marcus Freeman, that got a little bit spooky in the beginning. He was, that was tough. He had a couple of losses where you go, oh no, it's not going to work at all. And yet he's one of the brightest minds in the game. There are some who think that if you got him away from Notre Dame and the academic requirements and constraints, that if Marcus Freeman was able to head a program that had a little bit easier path to admissions, that he would be a juggernaut. Well, anyway, he is on a path to get to the playoff with Notre Dame this year, and we're of no threat. So I wonder, they might just be in a jolly mood on Saturday night, the local fans that are going to the game.
It'll be interesting. There's no real relationship. I heard Mike addressing Coach Freeman, and he was saying that he doesn't know him. There's no friendship there, but he admires everything that he's accomplished and everything he's done, and he's earned that role of head coach there. I do think, for example, if you went over and read on Warchant.com, Coach Henshaw's piece, Henshaw's house, he pointed out something, and I think he's right. Unfortunately, we're having to assess this week to week right now. He pointed out that it's a good thing Mac Brown was on the other sideline for the second half of this last game. He only threw 3 passes in the second half. Just kind of knew, like, this is over. I don't need to do anything I don't need to do. Go ahead and just run the ball. Florida State didn't have much interest in stopping the run. But I'm not going to throw it all over the lot. And we'll get the hell out of Dodge. And by definition, when you're running the football, you're running the clock. And, that game is kept, the score is kept down. Notre Dame is in a position to where, because of the Northern Illinois loss, they can't slip up, and they won't slip up against us because we won't allow it. We're not there to fight the good fight, or at least we haven't proven that we will show up for a game these days. Maybe they do. Maybe out of nowhere they will. I'd be shocked by it, but maybe we will. Who knows? But Notre Dame is always going to be fighting for style points. The game at the end of the year against Southern Cal was one that I think they would have counted on to bolster their overall resume. They can't do that now. I mean, Southern Cal is in 15th place in the Big Ten. They lose every week to everybody. Maryland, Minnesota, doesn't really matter. They lose. So that game won't mean anything to people that are judging from the outside as to what Notre Dame is. It may not matter. If they go 11-1, it won't matter. They're going to the playoff. But if you look shaky, I mean, I don't think you can afford to look shaky against Florida State. That would be a slight. I mean, everybody's looked good against Florida State. They've done anything they've wanted to do. You're in a ball game at home on Saturday night with Florida State, who's been dead in the water for weeks on end. might cause people to pause.
Well, we've been in a lot of games like that as a program over the years where there's nothing you can do to win besides putting a W next to your name. There's no style point.
Right.
You
don't get credit for beating somebody
No.
38-0 that you should beat 38-0.
Yes, if this is 52-30, people are going to go, Notre Dame, what did you do? Frauds.
What have you done?
Who are they even played?
Yeah.
They play. This is a cake schedule for Notre Dame. They lost to Northern Illinois. They got the better of A&M before they got their stuff together. What has Notre Dame really done? Giving up 30 points to that sorry offense? No, I mean, there's really, no matter how they win, they just hope that it's not talked about. As long as it's not talked about, that's the best they can hope for. We've been in that position, I mean, for a long time. But it has been, it feels like, eons since we've been in that position, even though this time last year we were undefeated. How 12 months can feel like a decade.
You ain't kidding, buddy. I mean, you're not kidding. Every week. We talked about it this week on the report. What is it you take into that game that you're looking for, honestly? What are you looking to glean from, if you're still watching Florida State games? Look, I get it. I'm sure our numbers are going to reveal it the next chance we get on the website at Warchant to really see where we're at. It's unavoidable. Disinterest begins to seep into a culture, in this case, Florida State culture as a fan base, when the games aren't competitive. You wouldn't sustain the sort of numbers in terms of views and listens and all those sorts of things if you're covering a program. This is any program. This is not unique to Florida State. Any program that is faltering and flailing. I do think we've had amazing loyalty over the years. Florida State's come up in that way. I mean, back in the day, if it happened, it would have been even worse. But it's something to behold.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm proud of the fan base for this reason. Saturday's numbers, for the post-game show, maybe it was the Cameron bump we got from your appearance.
It was a fun show to do.
Yes, for what it was fun.
Yeah.
That did better than Clemson and Miami, that show. And I really believe that, and those two games were prime time against rivals. This one wasn't against a rival in a sleepy setting. You could be going to dinner instead of watching the post-game show, but people watch the post-game show. I don't think it's about hate at that point. The haters are like, well, you're bad. I don't need to watch you anymore. I had my laughs. People saw the quit.
Yeah, they did.
And they reacted with anger, and they wanted their voices heard about the quit. And it's so open that somebody like Henshaw, Coach Henshaw, who's been in the business, is saying it without saying the Q word. I mean, like, usually a coach or someone who's been inside the game is very reluctant to question effort.
Extremely reluctant, because they know what it says. If you label somebody as a quitter, or you say emphatically that a team, a segment group, a player individually has quit, it is as damning a statement as you can make, because it also reflects poorly on the coach of that segment group and the head coach.
And that's what we got. And that's where I'm proud of the fan base, to still have that fire inside to say that, no, man, this is totally unacceptable. Now, I believe the next time that the fan base returns in mass is when there are changes announced. That could be as soon as Sunday. Could be. You got a bye week. Seems like a nice little landing spot. Don't have any media obligations for a few days to make the announcement and let the wave wash over, and then pick up with a bye week press conference middle of next week. They're not doing the coaches show on Monday. I don't know if you knew that, but the weekly coaches show is taking the week off.
Well, it's a holiday.
It is. Right. I'm sure they would be taking that holiday if we had a game that week too. But you've got an opening there. And it's at that point, I think the fan base will say, okay, well then who's coming in next? Who are the replacements going to be? That is interesting. More so than, is it Brock or Luke? That was a few weeks ago. But unfortunately, the offensive line is not letting you do much in the way of evaluating. And then Luke, needs to get better of getting rid of the football too, because he holds it too long. And so that short circuits drives.
Did you know there was a school called Texas A&M Commerce?
I did. Yeah. I don't know why I know that.
Well, because we play them next year.
Oh, okay.
We should litter our schedule with the Texas A&M Commerces of the world, I might add.
How many on the commerce circuit can we get?
Man alive. I had not heard of that team. There aren't many teams in college football that I haven't heard of. That's one. I was unaware of A&M Commerce. They're the Lions. because of course they're a generic ass lion. It is.
Shouldn't they be the Bulls? Commerce,
They should be something other than the Lions. They're from Texas. But the point would be
they're the Texas Lions.
The point would be we could begin to count down the days when you talk about the fans re-engaging. Unfortunately, there is a game to be played August 30th against the Alabama Crimson Tide here in Tallahassee. Now, I kid.
It's not Alabama Commerce?
No, it's the Crimson Tide. I looked it up. I was hoping they, too, were the Commerce of Alabama as opposed to the Crimson Tide. But it is the Crimson Tide. And the following week, you play A&M Commerce. And then you play Kent State. I do like where we're headed here, guys. Sprinkle it in. Get as many of the Kent States, A&M Commerces on the schedule as possible.
I don't know. How much does Kent return?
But, if you get that Alabama game removed and put in another Commerce, we might start the year 3-0. Feeling pretty good before you get into the slate of conference games. But the reason I bring it up is the time between right now and Saturday, August the 30th against Alabama will be very interesting. Just to get a gauge of exactly where the fan base is at, because it doesn't get bigger as a name than Alabama. And you're playing them in your backyard. And there was a time when the announcement of that game and the status of Florida State football and where it was going, or where we perceived it to be going, felt just right. It felt like, well, maybe Nick will be gone by then, and he is. And by definition, they will not sustain. He is the best to ever do it, arguably. They're not going to sustain, and they haven't.
Yeah, that time was called this past January.
Yes.
You're going, look at this.
Yeah, we kept thinking. And remember, I said at that time, well, we've got some work to do still. We still need to get to a place where physically we're deep enough and talented enough to withstand the line of scrimmage fight. We're all right elsewhere, we thought, but that's the area. So let's get to work. A lot of work to do. A lot of work, since we're putting the barometer out there of the fan base between right here, right now, a few days before you played Notre Dame on the road, and August the 30th against Alabama next year. Where do you think that needle's pointed? All of the sweeping changes that we're talking about now that are forthcoming and soon. It's November. They'll happen by December. You don't even have a month really to wait until you know.
The best news I've heard all day.
Well, I'm just saying, we love to do the countdown to the start of college football. Currently, we're doing the countdown to the end of college football, at least as it pertains to Florida State. But you will know an awful lot about the significance of changes, names, your roster, coaches coming and going, all of it, and how that makes you feel as you begin to project to August the 30th against Alabama for the first game next year. It's a lot to take in. There's a lot to follow. Makes our job more interesting. I'll admit that. I don't know how many people will jump on board outside of the people that are tasked with covering this team. Your diehards will. You never lose them no matter where you're at. But everybody else, we'll see. I think it's fascinating.
Well, I think we need to really scour about 7 quarters of Alabama USF film, and maybe we'll find something inspiring in there.
Well, I can tell you what some of it that was inspiring was the ability to get guys wide open that their quarterback couldn't hit. But we wouldn't block it up and hit them either. So you just get worn out like they did and routed in the fourth quarter like they did.
The second time.
If you're still hanging around.
DeBoer did better than Saban did against USF.
Yeah, well, the score was, that game was really close through 3 quarters, and USF's quarterback couldn't hit on wide open throws for touchdowns that would have put Alabama in a pickle. Would have put him in a pickle.
But he scored more than 20.
He did. He did. It's not quite happy hour, but if you're thinking about happy hour daily these days, that too I understand. Your healthy happy hour is a natural and healthier way to experience a carefree moment, and you can do just that with our friends at Cornbread THC. That's right, Cornbread's THC gummies is what I'm talking about. America's first USDA organic THC edible. It's legal. to those of you that are 21 years of age or older. And not only is it organic and USDA approved, no synthetic ingredients to boot, and I'm saving you money. The offer is for USDA organic THC gummy lovin' from Cornbread. That's right. You go to cornbreadhemp.com, cornbreadhemp.com/warchant for Jeff Cameron Show listeners. Use promo code warchant at checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/warchant. Use code warchant. 30% off your first order. Cheers to a healthier happy hour.
Happy hour in the city is at Café de Martín and El Bar. All day, every day, you can find great deals at Café de Martín while enjoying the best outdoor seating Tallahassee has to offer. Sip away on 2-for-1 house wines, chilcanos, and margaritas all day long, Monday through Thursday. Plus 2-for-1 pisco sours and margaritas on Fridays and Saturdays, and 2-for-1 mimosas for Sunday brunch. Come join us at Café de Martín, where every hour is happy hour, in the Esposito Shopping Center on Capitol Circle Northeast.
Pinch A Penny Pools has the largest selection of premium hot springs hot tubs in the city. You might even call it Tallahassee's hot tub hub. 12,000 square feet of hot tubs, with over 50 of them on site. Over 20,000 gallons of tub capacity to choose from. That's 4,620,000 cubic inches of hot tubs. But I digress. So why should you own a hot tub from Pinch A Penny Pools and Spas, you might ask? Well, I'll tell you. Number one, health benefits, of course. The healing powers of soaking in a hot bubbling pool of water go back centuries. Google it. Number two, Pinch A Penny has hot tubs with technology called Freshwater IQ. It gives you real-time chemical readings and tells you exactly what to add to keep the water at peak perfection, with automated analysis to help you control the chlorine and pH. It's hot tubs for dummies. Sign me up. Number three, they have the best prices, of course. Plus, you get a free accessory and no interest financing. Easy peasy. But if you don't want to take my word for it, check them out yourself. Pinch A Penny Pools and Spas. Locally owned, locally operated, and the easiest way to find relaxation at home.
Imagine for a moment that you are completely weightless in zero gravity. All of the weight and worry of life is melted away, and you fall into a state of profound relaxation. This is what you'll find at Tallulah CBD Mushrooms THC in Railroad Square when you try out their state-of-the-art floating pods. While you're there, shop for the best quality CBD, mushrooms, THC, and kava products available. Shop Tallulah today with 6 locations in Tallahassee and the Kava Bar Lounge in Bannerman Crossings. Online at TallulahSmokes.com.
This announcement is brought to you by Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey.
If you're driving right now, you should know there's an 80% chance that the cars all around you don't carry any bodily injury insurance. Most people don't realize it, but in Florida, all the law requires is that drivers carry property damage insurance. This means that the texting teen drifting over into your lane or the drag racer on your rear bumper have no way of compensating you or your loved ones when they cause a crash. And this should scare the hell out of you. Fortunately, there's an easy way to protect your family from this, and it's called uninsured motorist coverage. It's an absolute must, but a lot of insurance companies are convincing folks to drop it just to save a few dollars. Take it from the personal injury experts. Don't. At Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey, we've recovered millions of dollars in uninsured motorist coverage in crashes where our clients would have otherwise received nothing. So please, call your agent right now and make sure you have uninsured motorist coverage on your policy. We hope you'll never need it, but we'll be here for you if you ever do. Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey. Don't settle for less.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future. Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Rolling on a Balls McWednesday. Hope this finds you hanging in there, doing all right. Appreciate you being here with us. So I did watch last night the Maction. Lest you guys were worried, I was locked in to a little football last night. I can't help it, Tom. I got to tell you, I really like Bowling Green's uniforms. I just do. I always have. The abstract falcon over the years has been really, really good, but they don't do it as much as they used to.
Is it still like a Cincinnati Browns adjacent look for Bowling Green?
Yeah, they have that color combo, that sort of ugly brown, orangish.
It is a football.
White. Yeah.
It's autumn. It's football. I get it.
I've always liked, when they used to do, years ago on the air, I mentioned that I liked their uniforms, and somebody sent me, as people have been kind enough to do over the years, a shirt, and it was just the abstract falcon that they have, where it doesn't look like a falcon at all. Anyhow, that final score last night was Bowling Green 23, Central Michigan 13. If you really locked it in and watched Miami of Ohio and Ball State, then you saw 27-21. I get it. People may have been distracted. There were other things happening in the universe last night that didn't involve Maction, but I was watching Maction, as I was also tuning in and out to the committee's top 25 just to get a sense of what there was going to be. Not because I cared, not that because I respected the process. None of that, of course. I knew that the made-for-TV would allow for the inconsistencies and all the things that you roll your eyes at, knowing what they're trying to do. You know, that kind of stuff where you're like, oh, I see what you're doing. You're setting this up for this, and you know that in 2 weeks this team plays this team, so you're going to be able to get out of this ridiculous position that you've put for yourself because you know that these two teams match up, and then you're going to say, well, the results changed our mind. Yeah, I got it. I knew all of that, but I was curious because I did think to some degree with a 12-team playoff, not a 4-team playoff, where people were positioned in the top 25 was going to matter a little bit more. It was going to be interesting to see, all right, are they accounting for strength of schedule and to what degree? Because you have a team, for example, that has the 103rd or 108th toughest schedule so far. That's Indiana. So what do you do with Indiana, who's undefeated, but and while it's a great story, they've played exactly nobody who's any good at all. And they've won those games, which for Indiana is a big deal because they often play nobody and never win those games. So on the one hand, you can't diminish what they've accomplished. On the other hand, you're like, well, now it's serious. We're getting late in the year. Are we really going to put these guys into a playoff? And if so, how's that going to look? Because let's say they play Ohio State, which they do, and they lose that game, and you will have played then one game against a good team and lost that game. But you may very well finish 11-1. So where you were positioned last night was really going to matter. And I kind of was curious to see. Now, you could counter, Tom, and say, does it really matter, Jeff? Does it? They could have been 24th or they could have been 5th. Does it really matter?
Yeah. When you see a team go from 7-3 from championship weekend to the final poll.
Yeah.
They can do whatever they want, and they will. They will do whatever they want.
They have less freedom to do whatever they want, though. Because if you have a bunch of 11-1, 12-0 teams or teams that are going that you're not going to be able to argue.
What about a 13-0 team?
Right? It was a 4-team playoff, not a 12-team playoff. So I'm with you on that. To some degree, the committee, in the midst of selling their ads by putting together a dramatic TV show, will probably manipulate the best they can the product to, as we know, create the most amount of drama for said television show. I got it. But they're going to have a harder time when you desperately want to get a 3-loss Alabama in and there's an 11-1 or an undefeated BYU who, say, loses the conference championship. You're not going to put them in over Alabama?
Oh, they're not
if they lose the but the point would be, of course, they already have 2 top 20 wins and they go undefeated and lose in the conference championship. You're not going to put them in?
I don't know, buddy. If you put them in an SEC gauntlet of a schedule, I don't think they'd have merely but 1 loss in this scenario. They'd probably have 3, and they certainly don't have a win over Georgia. So I think Alabama rightfully if
Well-
BYU does not win its conference championship, is just they're a better fit for the playoff, and they're more deserving.
They're going to have a hard time if they lose this weekend. Now, that's a big if.
It's about the 12 best teams, and I just have a hard time saying I watch more live football than anybody else in the country. I have a hard time saying that BYU is a better football team than Alabama. They're just not.
The good news is that I don't think it's going to matter. I think BYU is going to get in. I think they're going to find their way, and I think teams like Alabama or LSU are in trouble. Big trouble. This is an elimination game this weekend. I think this is it. This is it. That's all. You lose this game, you are done dealing, which would be nice. And maybe it speaks to the larger discussion that we continue to have about the way college football is going to look moving forward. Now, maybe later in that third hour when you and I get into the big, this subject again, perhaps, you could always just argue that at some point, if it doesn't work out the way the SEC and the Big Ten wanted to, they'll just mandate that they get 4 from each league no matter what, or that they'll leave.
Well, anytime that they just decide to assemble for no real reason in Nashville, they're holding the sport hostage in that moment. It's like, oh, God, what are they doing? What are they deciding to do?
Well, they run the sport currently.
Yes.
They do. There's no getting around that.
They might not even meet. They just go there, sit in the same room for a half an hour for a media availability. Like, you know what? If we just go to the same hotel for about one day, media members will pour in here and they'll say, oh, God, what are they doing? How are they going to divvy up all the money, divvy up the playoff? That's how powerful they are right now. No commissioner.
Imagine if Georgia loses at Ole Miss this weekend.
Lane won't know what to do with himself.
Well,
I won?
It's not just that. All of a sudden, you're like, uh-oh. Good luck, everybody.
Well, if I'm BYU, I'm saying, uh-oh, I better not lose a game. If I lose one game, Georgia's getting in. It's like stealing an auto bid. It's
That's
like,
exactly what. Okay, now you're hitting on the point. That is 100% what it's like. Is that we're now going to be looking at these games through that very same prism when teams that are lesser than or not name brand, that wouldn't make for the greatest amount of drama according to the committee, because again, whether you are or are not good enough or have played the right schedule or not, they're perhaps not completely taking that into account. Perhaps, as we've seen. But you are going to have the need. So here's a good example. Miami goes undefeated in the regular season, to your point.
Yeah.
And loses in the ACC championship game. If you're one of those other programs that have had a very fine campaign, but are not of that brand value, your little undefeated season may not matter because the one-loss Canes are going to get in.
Yeah, if you're not an SEC team with 2 losses that needs a little pick-me-up, sure.
Right.
Sure.
So all of a sudden, if you were one of those teams like Indiana, who may end up playing a schedule that features 1 bowl-eligible team, 1, then they're going to go, well, I think we saw what Indiana was when they lost to Ohio State. The Canes went undefeated this year and lost in their conference championship game. They're going in.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm looking at, several examples here in their farcical top whatever. But you can say, I think definitively at this point, that Ohio State, Georgia, and Texas can all lose another game, and they're still in. Those 3 programs can lose a second game this season, and they're still in. Because right now they're 2, 3, and 5 respectively, and their brand power is their brand power.
You said Georgia, Texas, and who?
Ohio State. Ohio State's sitting at number 2 in the country right now at 7-1.
Yeah, and their lone loss is a road loss to that cheater.
That's right.
So you would defend him.
Well, I would say that notwithstanding, Oregon's pretty close to just being in, period.
Yes.
When you're 9-0 and number 1 in the country, if I'm a fan, sure, I want the bye week. But I kind of wouldn't mind having a home game. So you're 2 wins away from being in. Like you're 11-0, you're number 1 in the country. You could lose out, and I think you're still in. You could go 11-2 and be in. I think we're getting to that place where now you're looking at, so Texas is number 5 at 7-1. If they lose again, they're still in. Penn State at number 6, if they lose a second time, are they still in? Yes? No?
Well, you got a problem there because one of their wins that I'm sure they were hoping to hang their hat on was the game against Southern Cal. But again, Southern Cal is letting everybody down.
Yes,
they lose every week. I mean, we documented this, right? Southern Cal loses to Maryland. Southern Cal lost to Minnesota. That's a bad Michigan team that beat Southern Cal. They just keep on losing. They got that big win over Rutgers. Sorry, forgot that one. But they lose on the regular.
So Penn State's remaining schedule is Washington, Purdue, Minnesota, Maryland.
Yeah.
I don't think they can afford to lose another game and make it. So
I don't either, but under the argument that they're in brand, you would say that they could still make it.
What I'm saying is I think I'm going to throw that cutoff in there between 5 and 6, where everybody 5 and above can absorb at least one more loss, and they're good. And they're still going to get in. Penn State, Tennessee, no. If Indiana loses, I don't think so.
Well, Indiana's going to lose to Ohio State, so they got that. They can't have a second loss.
BYU, unless they lose in the regular season, they win their conference championship, then fine. They're they're in an auto situation, pitting them against Boise State. Notre Dame, can they lose another game? I don't think so.
Ooh, they would be in trouble.
So your cutoff is 5. So, we used to say this when it was the 14 playoff, that if Georgia, at number 1 in the country and undefeated most years, is playing in a conference championship game,
you can just choose to not. Yeah,
that day doesn't matter. This is where we're going.
Yeah.
If all of these teams win up to the final game of the season, they could lose in their final game and they'll be in the playoffs.
It's like it's like you have 100 because you've passed all of your tests with 100 grade, and the last day, they're like, well, if you have an A or above, you don't have to take the – okay, well,
yes,
I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to straight up call it a day.
We should coin that, the exempt line. Where do you draw the exempt line? And for me, it's underneath Texas and above Penn State.
Sorry, I circled back. I got distracted. I want to make sure we hadn't scheduled LSU on the road at night in 2026. I keep looking for our schedule.
Kind of fun.
Oh, I'd love to go. Are we going to be buttoned up by then? We got any future crazy schedules out there? We really don't. You don't get past 2030 without it just becoming, we know one out of conference game, and that's Florida. That's the only one we know.
Yeah, but 2 Alabamas.
2 Alabamas, 2 Georgias.
2 Georgias, and Notre Dame's in there at least once.
Yeah, Notre Dame's in there several times. You were pretty much just steady playing Notre Dame. Because we got Notre Dame in the same year that we have Alabama in 2026. Just so you know. Here, but we do have them.
So Tuscaloosa, and then they come to us. Notre Dame does.
2026, you better be good. You've got Alabama, Florida, Clemson, Notre Dame at Miami. Better have it together, Mike.
Well, it'll be a 14-team playoff.
2026, you have Alabama, Florida, Clemson. Well, not to mention, let's see if SMU star continues to climb. You're at Louisville, you're at Miami, you're at Pitt, and you host Notre Dame. Better buckle up, boys. We got to get it together by 2026. This is where my head's at. With this sorry-ass display that we've got here, listen.
The future is supposed to be a relief. It shouldn't make you feel more anxious and urgent.
Well, at least in 2025, we had the good sense to bring in Kent State and A&M Commerce after getting bent over by Alabama.
The funny thing is you can't look at any team in the ACC at this point and say, thank God we have Duke, Syracuse, and Wake. You'd be like, well, I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
Could be a toughie.
We went 1-7 in the conference in 2024. 1-7.
When you say it out loud like that, Tom, it's just unbelievable.
We have one fewer conference win in this room, these sets of rooms.
You and me combined could have
Right.
taken the field against the entirety of the ACC in an 8-game schedule, and we would have failed not much worse than Florida State did as a team, collectively. Just you and me running around out there. I'm open, Tom.
I mean, I'd try until something gives, until a hammy gives. I would try.
Man.
I know you would.
Yeah, well, these guys aren't. But I'll tell you somebody who does. Shannon Young, loansforknowles.com, Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. Really, really hard worker. Bright, hardworking, dedicated, diehard Knoll. Probably run into him I haven't talked to him this week. I did last. Probably run into him at the Notre Dame game. Dude is as loyal as they come, as dedicated to that craft as he is certainly to helping you. Interest rates continue to fall. Properties sitting on the market longer than they ever have. It's your time. If you've been on the fence about purchasing, now would be the time. You want to learn more, talk to Shannon. I think you'll be impressed. I always am when I ask him about these things. Shannon Young, loansforknowles.com. That's loansforknowles.com.
Your local news now.
Tallahassee police are investigating a drive-by shooting that happened Monday afternoon on Blairstone Road. The incident unfolded around 1:45 p.m. Monday after officers were dispatched to a shooting incident involving two vehicles. An investigation revealed that occupants in one vehicle began shooting at a second vehicle, which then led that second vehicle to crash near the intersection of Blairstone Road and Phillips Road. Police said the victim of the second vehicle did not sustain any gunshot wounds, but the vehicle was hit by several bullets and sustained damage during the crash. The suspect vehicle immediately fled the scene before being located by police near the intersection of Tennessee and Monroe Streets, where a high-risk traffic stop was conducted. 6 people were safely detained for questioning. At this time, it is unclear what led up to the shooting. This is an ongoing investigation. This is Rachel Anae with your Roll Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Cloudy skies expected this afternoon with thunderstorms likely. Highs around 79, winds out of the east 5 to 10 miles per hour. Overcast skies again tonight, thunderstorms likely. Lows level off around 73. Chance for storms tomorrow. Highs level off around 82, overcast. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Currently, it's 79 degrees.
What do you need tires on? Your car or truck, tractor or heavy equipment? At Nice Tire and Auto Service, we have tires for all these needs. And we service your vehicle from air conditioning and computerized alignment to oil changes and everything else under the hood. Call Nice Tire and Auto today at 574-4100. That's 574-4100 for your scheduled maintenance. National accounts welcome at Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, just west of Capitol Circle.
There is no Bigfoot, Eddie. Would you stop with that nonsense?
There's a Bigfoot, Jeff.
I wish there were. By the way, I don't want you to point to me as the guy that takes all the fun out of the room. I wish there was the Loch Ness Monster. I wish there was the Bigfoot. I wish there was the Chupacabra. All the things.
They're all mythical except for the Bigfoot. The Sasquatch.
The Bigfoot?
The Bigfoot. There's big feet. There's lots of them.
So like different, breeds, like different kinds
there's like, families. There's different families. And,
so if they're in the snow, you call them a Sasquatch.
Or the Yeti, right?
Yep,
and then here in Florida, that's a skunk ape. And, but
never heard that one. By the way, why do you think it's real? We would have found them by now.
They're the hide and seek champions of the world. Nobody finds the Bigfoot.
I think you believe in Bigfoot.
I do believe in Bigfoot.
You don't believe.
I believe in Bigfoot.
Don't tell anybody you believe in Bigfoot.
I would go look for Bigfoot, but he scares me.
Florida, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
To answer the, question I posed, I didn't answer it. I asked you whether or not you had ever heard of A&M Commerce, and Harbor Knoll reached out and said they're the old East Texas State, Jeff. Appreciate you, Harbor Knoll.
Okay. So A&M was like, hey, let's create ourselves a satellite campus with all this oil money.
Oh, they could make several, I'm sure. But they are the old East Texas State, just so you know. And we've all heard of North Texas.
North.
But East Texas State, I don't really recall them much either. I had somebody ask me via email, more than one, so I'll answer it in a short segment to round out hour number one. Have I ever had a situation like what just happened with Joel Embiid and a reporter, in which a reporter was shoved by Joel Embiid? That story is It was an incident on Saturday night. Embiid shoved a reporter who had written a piece that you could call into question. Marcus Hayes is the reporter's name. He writes for the Philadelphia Inquirer. He's a columnist. And basically, the reporter was trying to make a point. And in doing so, he did bring up Joel Embiid's dead brother as well, and son. And there was he took umbrage with that. I understand why. Some of the other stuff written in there was fair. That wasn't necessary. And so he said, after having Embiid's professionalism questioned, he said, the next time you bring up my dead brother and my son again, you're going to see what I'm going to do to you, and I'm going to have to live with the consequences. There was a push, and that was the end of that. And so he's fine. I kind of get his anger, but I would tell you that I've never had that. I have had a player as well as a coach, and I think anybody that's been in this long enough has had terse give and takes or rather unpleasant exchanges for either something they wrote or said on the air, in my case, with coaches. But that kind of just goes with the territory. If you're paid to give an opinion, you know, at some point you're that kind of confrontation. Frankly, you welcome it, not in a combative, hey, let's fight way, but in a, I'll stand by what I said. And if I don't believe in what I said, I'll retract it and apologize. One or the other. Criticism kind of comes with the territory if you're a professional athlete or coach of any kind. But there are levels, and there is fair and unfair. And there are things you can say and know that perhaps you've crossed a line, or things that you can say that you are like, look, it's not going to be welcomed with open arms, but I stand by it. Still the truth, still think it's true. And we can debate it. We can talk about why I said it. That's all there. You have to be able to expect that. But yeah, the most interesting ones were always, as I've said on the air many times before, with Coach Fisher. Those were always interesting ones because I never knew where they were coming.
I got to catch some of those from a different perspective. And I always thought Coach Fisher was right. Coaches were always correct in that situation. I heard some of that, never the stuff where it got extremely heated. Usually that would be a phone call that you would take.
That I would take a phone call, yeah.
But I heard the forewarning before an interview, maybe. If I was here rolling the tape and getting ready for a Sunday night interview, and he came in guns a-blazing. Jeez, okay.
Yeah.
Somebody got in his ear, that kind of a thing, because he wouldn't have the time.
No,
one would think.
He wasn't listening to my show like the way you would, maybe you heard a sound clip or something. The most heated he ever got is he thought I impugned his integrity. He thought I called him a liar.
Well, you did say he was lying, but he was.
Yes, I said he was lying about whether or not a player practiced, and he was lying about that. Now, in that context, I would argue that it's more along the lines of gamesmanship. Like he's saying one thing for fear that, I don't know, a team would find out about it or something. But it was so early in the week, and it was so strange.
Yeah, the game plan. It was a quarterback.
It was a quarterback, and he didn't trust that this is the thing. I'll just say this. Had he said, look, man, I don't need you to bring that up because of this, this, and this, and had a legitimate reason, it would have been a different conversation. That's not how he attacked it. He attacked it by saying that I made it up, that I had no evidence that the player didn't practice. The problem is the player who didn't practice is the one who told me he didn't practice. And so in that moment, when Fisher said, who's your source? I'm never going to burn a source, especially not when it's the quarterback who told me that he wasn't practicing this week.
Well, you just did.
And so, at the moment, I was just like, Coach, I'm not going to give you that. And that pissed him off more. because he wanted to know. And I was just like, I'm not going to tell you that. You know I'm not going to tell you that. The weirdest thing about it, we talked again the next day and he was fine.
Yes, that sounds weird, but that's him. That's him to a T.
I found out later on, according to somebody over there, he respected that I wouldn't give the source.
Well, there you go.
He told him, he's like, got to give it to him. He wouldn't tell me. Wouldn't tell me.
Now, if he was up to my face, he would tell me.
It was just hilarious, though. He told somebody that he respected that I wouldn't give it up, despite being livid in the moment. He told me, gotta give it to him. He wouldn't tell me. How about that, Dawes? Wouldn't spill the beans. Wouldn't do it. I'm gonna talk to some bitch tomorrow. I kind of like him. That's how strange it was. And I just had to get used to that for the rest of our relationship for years on. Well, I just had to be ready for that.
I mean, that particular quarterback, there was a song and dance on his availability. He wasn't quite Cam Rising, but it wasn't nothing with him.
It was weekly. Weekly. Hour number 2 forthcoming. Stay with us. Jeff Cameron Show on 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Tallahassee is full of rich history and traditions. When you think of things that jump out in the minds of longtime residents, the state capitol, McClay Gardens, the Springtime Tallahassee Parade, FSU and FAMU Sports, the St. Mark's Lighthouse, St. George Island, and Paul's Termite and Pest Control. Paul's has been protecting thousands of people, their pets, their homes, and their lawns in the capital region for over 50 years. Locally founded and still locally owned and operated. There aren't many businesses in our industry that keep it together that long. Paul's Pest Control has many customers we've been honored to serve for over the last 50 years. We've experienced tremendous changes in how we treat homes and protect the people that live there. We've moved from liquid termite treatments that require drilling into the home's foundation to Centricon, a baiting system which works with their natural biology. We've moved from interior service to exterior treatments for general pests. But one thing we're not going to change is our old-fashioned commitment to personal service for each of our customers, the same way we've been doing it for over 50 years.
For the elimination of termites, any other pests, and a greener lawn too.
Call Paul's.
We'll get them all.
No matter how busy life gets, your home is the place where your family and friends show you they care and celebrate with you. That's why the professionals at Barano Heating and Air Conditioning always make sure your home is comfortable. Just like those who matter to you most, Barano will always be there for you.
This is Tyler from Barano Heating and Air. Now you can schedule an appointment, purchase or renew your service agreement, or pay your bill from your mobile device. Any day, anytime, anywhere. When you turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air, online at BaranoAC.com.
Florida license number CAC 1816186.
Get prices, roofing and construction services. T-Bar.com. We conquer all peaks. We fix those dark leaks. Call 850-766-134. T-Bar Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Bar Construction.com.
License number CCC 1331204.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT, Crescent, Tallahassee. Your Sports Flash update on Real Talk 93.3 brought to you by Fulmar's Pawn, Gun and Gold. More than you might expect with 2 great locations in Tallahassee.
Tampa Bay Lightning hockey, they have now lost 3 straight games. They fall in St. Louis to the Blues yesterday by a 3-2 score. In the loss, Nick Perbix, Victor Hedman, each scoring. Andrei Vasilevsky making 20 saves. It was not enough. Lightning are back at it when they play host to Philadelphia in a game that's going to be coming up on Thursday night. Also on Thursday, the Florida Panthers return to action as they are set to take on Nashville. Yesterday was a complete day off across the NBA for Election Day. Teams getting back at tonight. That includes the Orlando Magic, who are on the road to play Indiana, and the Heat, who will open up a 6-game road trip in Phoenix. This Sports Flash is brought to you by Fulmar's Pawn, Gun, and Gold. More than you might expect with 2 great locations in Tallahassee. I'm Matt Pauley on Real Talk 93.3.
The holidays are coming up, and I know they say 'tis the season to be jolly, but I'm feeling stressed about getting what I needed for hosting. So I went to Kohl's, where I not only found amazing deals on everything from decor to table essentials to cooking must-haves, I also got 20% off with a coupon. So if you want to truly be the host with the most this season, get to Kohl's. Select style. 20% offer ends November 7th, and exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
Wendy's breakfast burrito has an entire breakfast in every bite. Fresh cracked eggs, seasoned potatoes, American cheese, cheese sauce, and sausage or bacon. So the first bite is like fresh American cheese sauce. Bacon. And the second bite is like fresh American cheese sauce. Bacon. And the third bite, you get the idea. The boss of breakfast burritos, gotta be Wendy's.
Participating U.S. Wendy's during
Hey, Greg, did you know that some cars are more prone to auto glass damage than others?
I did not know that.
Yeah, a Jeep windshield is flat, making it very prone to damage. Nissan Rogues are popular. Toyotas, Subarus are always in my shop because they get damaged frequently and they require recalibration.
So you guys see a lot of SUVs.
Yeah, I guess the angle of the glass has a lot to do with it.
But it's not like you can avoid a rock no matter what you drive.
Exactly. So just go to SeminoleAutoglass.com and let us take care of everything for you.
So how often do you see a DeLorean?
From time to time. Better call Seminole.
Let me tell you about my friends at Tried and True Consulting, a Seminole-owned business that specializes in payments and business solutions. Tried and True's core expertise includes card, ACH, point of sale, mobile, e-commerce, and hosted payment solutions. Tried and True will help you reduce costs and increase your bottom line. That always sounds nice. Whether you're a retailer, restaurant, licensed professional, or service industry, Tried and True is saving you money. Tried and True's expertise extends to payroll, video menu ad boards, IT services, web design, and social media. It's time to make one call and tell the competition to take it on down the road. Call Don or Joe today at 844-464-6653. That's 844-464-6653. When you do business with Tried and True, they contribute 10% of the net revenue to the battle's end. So go Tried and True today. Call 844-464-6653. Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
Florida's capital city. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
that kind of made me smile a little bit here. It has nothing to do with anything that I'm going to dwell on, but eye-opening. The WTA Tour Final, by the way, features the top 8 women's tennis stars. It's a purse of $15+ million, minimum first place prize at $3.77 million. Literally just read this as we were coming out of break, so I got to share it with you. So it's more than any Grand Slam tournament in the game. It's all this money, all of these stars, all in one place. It's a huge 3-year deal. It's a huge draw. You have your Wimbledon champ. You have Coco Gauff. You have all these big names. Yeah, 400 people at most showed up to the event. Sweet Jesus.
So let me guess. Aramco is the sponsor of this? Where are they getting all that money?
It's the Saudis.
Yeah, that's Aramco.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the nice little flashy brand name in all lowercase they put there. So you don't know it's
the Saudis.
It's
yeah.
all over F1.
Yeah.
Like you see the course, you're racing on the course. I have the video game. It's wonderful. But you're driving by Aramco signs on EA's F1. You're like, okay, I see your Aramco.
Well, they were asked about it. They said, what do you think? It's tough to show that arena that fits 22,000 people. There were 400 people, and that is a kind estimate. Some dude screen grabbed the finals shot and counted himself and said it's less than 400. They maintained 400 tickets sold.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's the trick Miami pulls.
Yeah,
tickets distributed today versus butts and seats, where you saw last week against Duke. It was much like this.
22,000 seats and 400 people. My goodness gracious, needle in a haystack territory. That's tough. And they said, listen, we understand the criticism. It's a work day. It's a work day here. Sorry, a lot of people couldn't show.
Where was it housed?
I think Saudi Arabia.
Oh, really?
Well, I'm going to read more now that I
couldn't
curious.
Put weapons in people's backs and force them through the door.
This is a toughie. Yeah, it's man. Oh, by the way, did you know they? This is where Monday Night Raw was going to be filmed there too. By the way,
yeah,
they're going over there. Yeah,
they do a circuit every, I don't know, is it every quarter, a couple times a year? Yeah, that's always sold out
on a work day.
Yeah, that's right. It's a work day.
So that's it.
I feel like they could force people to do whatever they want. That's interesting. They should choose to put some people in there. It's a bad look.
It's a bad look indeed. And by the way, Saquon Barkley just made a lot of money off the backwards hop. There was a deal that was made, which is not surprising because it was really cool and I could watch it over and over and over again. But Nike dropped a greater ad because of it.
You know, across all streams that we're talking to right now, we're just under 1,000. It's around 400 on YouTube, and then there's Facebook and Twitter X.
Right.
So we're doubling the WTA final, brother.
And for far less, albeit pretty much free, than the
that's right.
Than the $15 million they had to pay to house that event.
And we're not taking into account the thousands here listening on radio and the podcast listenership, which will be scores of thousands more. Man, oh man. When do you get the $3 million purse?
Oh, buddy. Yeah, we could do it. We could do it. But it's I happened to read that. I was reading some other story and that blurb popped up and I went, I got to read this. There was a time where people in this country certainly flocked to tennis and watched and engaged in non-majors. It happened. It was a thing. All right, back to this. Football question was asked. I haven't gotten to it yet. Thanks, Tony. Missed headlines live. You guys all agreed that 5 is the minimum for coaching changes. Does that include both a new offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator? I think we need both, and an OC that also calls the plays. Thanks, Tony. Appreciate the question. I will tell you, and this is, I'm going to tell you a couple things. First of all, next hour is from today, but Tom and I had to pre-record the third hour of today's show. My son has a follow-up to a doctor's appointment that I need to be at. Don't fret. I'm sure he's going to be fine, but it's nonetheless something I needed to be at. And so we had to put the third hour in a can, but we really get in depth is my point. Next hour in the first segment, about 23 minutes of us talking in depth about the situation Florida State finds themselves in. Big picture stuff. What you would or would not choose to do with Mike Norvell, what you would or would not do with your coaching staff, what you believe the timeline is, what's possible, what's not possible. A lot of it's speculative because, of course, we don't know for certain. It is a new era of college football, and we're taking that into account that, these things are not on stable footing anymore. A lot of the superpowers of college football are probably looking around, none more than Florida State, but asking themselves, year to year, what they can expect. If you're projecting from a financial standpoint, you'd like to have a semblance of an idea about what the lowest level of performance and the highest level of performances would look like. And I think that game has changed. I think that you might have considered it a lock, and rightfully so, for years and years and years. If you were a blue blood and recruiting like a blue blood, and we have not been, but if you were successful and your name held cachet, the chances of you going 12-0 or back in the day in a 10-game schedule going 10-0 or 9-1, and then following it up with what we've seen this year was virtually nil. You just had too many and too much in the way of depth. Too many good players and too much depth. You could suffer catastrophic injuries in a given year. And if you were one of those talent-rich programs, and pick your era, but they've largely been the same group over the years. We all know who they are when we say their names aloud. That's why we are so frustrated with the situation that we're in right now. Florida State is one of them. They kicked down the door to the party. They became one of the rich, one of the blue bloods. Bobby Bowden's program announced its presence with authority and sustained it for 40-plus years, and that meant you were part of the elite team of college football programs that competed for national titles, conference titles, and certainly television ratings and all the money that came with. The chances you were going to, even in a bad year, in the worst injury luck ever seen, fall from the grace that was undefeated to the depths of despair like we're in now was virtually nil. And I believe that has changed. Now, it ought not be this. It ought not be this. But I do think even the microcosm that we've seen this year, the glimpse we've seen this year in college football tells you that that is so. Washington played for a national title last year. Fairly irrelevant this year. Michigan, fairly irrelevant this year. Southern Cal has spent more on their roster in NIL and their coach than almost anybody in America. They're 15th in the Big Ten. You're seeing a little bit more parity in the sport than you've ever seen before. And the blue bloods that had this sport on lockdown are no longer in a position to keep it on lockdown. Other programs are going to kick down the door much the way we did way back when. It will be for different reasons. Priorities shift. A good example might be something like what we're seeing currently at Vanderbilt. And I'll bring up why that's a good example. Great academic institution. Absolutely it is. Always has been. They've prioritized those academics and held those standards in a way that was exceedingly difficult to succeed in college football in the toughest conference in America. Good luck if you're not going to waver on those standards, because you have to find elite athletes who are also elite students and can stand the rigors of that academic bar that and threshold that you're held to, while competing against the Alabamas, Floridas, Georgias of the world. Like, you were going to have to do that in that league or leave that league because you had prioritized it. Okay, great. Got it. But because they're part of that league and they've made tons of money and they're going to continue to make even more money than the vast majority of other programs in the country. Certainly if you're not in the SEC or the Big Ten, Vanderbilt's making a lot more than you. Now they've had some success. They dabbled in the portal. They found a coach and a player that could do some evaluating, and they found a quarterback, and they found some other guys. The next thing you know, look at it. Look at old Vanderbilt out here threatening to go bowling, threatening to go have a winning season in the SEC, beating Alabama, doing some of the things that we never thought or that we rarely thought we'd see a Vanderbilt do. Well, what if that causes them to reconsider? What if they say, we can have our cake and eat it too? We should We should invest in football. We should care a little bit more. We have the means.
Have a giant media market right there where you're set up.
It's a great media market. Might Vanderbilt decide to push their chips into the center of the table and compete? Well, what would that mean? Well, it would mean that Vanderbilt would add to the ledger of really tough teams that you have to go through in the SEC. Might be a different looking league if all of a sudden Vanderbilt isn't the laughingstock and basement dweller that they've always been. We said at the start of this year when SMU was added to the ACC, it's not the same as the SEC money, but they have billions of dollars to go after it, and they've made a decision. They've let it be known. They've let everybody know we're in. We're trying to win. We'll take nobody this year. We're going to join a Power Four. We're not getting left out. We're making a run at it. We got us a coach we think can do it. We've got a lot of money. Our roster's not exactly where it's going to be 2, 3, 4 years from now, but we think we got enough to compete with you. Well, they are. They are. That's they got a couple good wins under their belt, and they got a chance to win the ACC in year one, and they're not going to stop spending. So SMU can be added to the group of teams that are now throwing their name in the hat that feel like they've got a chance to matter in the big world of college football. And they never did. They never did. And many other teams fall under that umbrella. Well, their success will most certainly mean that some of the more name brand squads we're talking about will feature more failure than they have in the past. One rises, one falls. At the very least, more people invited to the party makes schedules more difficult than ever before, and the rate of consistency falls in any given one season. We'll see. There's a lot of change coming to college football. It's all fascinating. I think as you watch these changes, you try to keep it in mind when you're discussing about what the future looks like here and what you should or should not do. This is much the conversation we're going to have at the start of next hour. Back to Tony's question, which was this. You guys all agreed 5 as the minimum of coaching changes, number of coaches that you would change. I think it certainly means a new OC. I don't think that you could have the worst offense in America and not make a drastic change to it.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, that by definition, Tom. They have the worst offense in the country.
Yes. So optics-wise, it's getting rid of the offensive coordinator, but you're firing him because of the offensive line.
Of course you are. Yes.
The thing is, if you're going to keep Mike, I think you need to fire both coordinators. You need to have such a wholesale change underneath Mike Norvell that you can spin something brand new, like a brand new product. That's the only thing that's going to save you here if you're Mike. I don't think even a coordinator and 2 position coaches or a coordinator and 3 position coaches is enough to be able to go back into the same high schools that you are trying to lock down and create relationships with to say it's different now. Because the whole point of the next 2 years on the recruiting trail for Mike, assuming he's kept as the head coach, is it's not like it was. That's what you got to be able to sell. The best way to do that is with new people.
Oh, without question.
Brand new people. Say, you know what? I found a way to take a place that was cancerous, ridden with culture issues, and facing the fire at 0-4 to an ACC championship. The unfortunate thing is I was a little slow to adapt to the modern times of college football, but I did it in one fell swoop with a group of guys. Now I brought in a new group of guys that matches the brand new era that we're in of college football. Like, you have to be able to position yourself and say these things and believe them. You can't do that by retaining both coordinators. You can't do that by letting go of 2 position coaches. It has to be a massive sweeping overhaul. And I think it even gets into those other positions like high school relations.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that you necessarily have to escort the current people out of the building. You just need new people working the phones. You need new people handling those greetings when they come on campus. It has to look new in order for 2026 kids. Think about that. You brought a lot of 2026 kids, and we got a lot of big names that were interested in us. We were, one of the top 3 programs in terms of commits for that cycle early on. Like, we were jumping on that class. They're going through this like we are, and they're saying, well, why would I even consider Florida State again? That's the kid that you're pitching towards. It has to be new people wearing your polos. A lot of them.
Without question that when you have this level, this depth of failure, and what we see is rot as the season wears on, we do not see engagement. We do not see buy-in. We do not see effort improving. We do not see gameplay that is better now than it was 4, 5, 6 weeks ago. Instead, we see a further deterioration of a program. If that is the case, yes, you largely have to gut it. And I don't think he has a choice, and I think he knows it. Again, I think that if I were in his position, I'd thank my lucky stars that I get a chance to do this. Because in many other circumstances, if we're a program that has more money or is in the SEC or the Big Ten and afforded an extra $30 or $40 million per than we are currently making, this becomes a moot point. You're gone. But he does get a second chance. And it doesn't matter the debate as to whether or not you think he should or should not get it. He's going to get it. And if that is the basis for our discussion, that is a given, if you will, in this scenario, then you then have to say how best to go about the process. And I agree with you. You're going to have to gut it. Now, none of this, whether you fire Adam Fuller, whether you fire Papuchas, whether you fire Alex Atkins, whether you ask Odell to retire, whether you name the coach, any of the coaches. None of it matters if Mike doesn't evaluate himself thoroughly. All of it is dependent on whether or not Mike can be honest with himself and change the way he goes about managing his coaches, managing himself and this program. He has to look long and hard in the mirror and decide, where did I go wrong? What kinds of mistakes did I make along the way? Where are my blind spots? Who can I trust to help me with the process of changing who I am as a CEO, right? As a coach that oversees all of it. That's a lot to undertake. Maybe you take some of those things and burdens off your plate. Maybe some of the responsibilities that you're currently tasked with that you chose to do, you now recognize you cannot do. Some of you out there will say, well, that's play calling, Jeff. That's fine. Debate it.
I would do all kinds of fundamental things if I was to be retained in this situation. One of them I know would please so many people, they're about to swerve off the road. I would revert back to Chief Osceola from the 2 national championships in the 90s, the pre-ignition tradition. You've got the branding, all of the iconic brand. Look, man, that new Osceola won an ACC championship eventually. You know, in 14, actually 2 of them, because in 14 we did.
Yeah.
You've got to rebrand it all. Like, you know how sometimes when you're getting together with a long-time friend, could be at a wedding reception.
It's going to happen this weekend in Chicago.
Going to happen this weekend in Chicago. Like, sometimes you'll fall back on the same stories, or like you'll remember a movie or a concert.
Yes, nostalgia.
Man, we always end up talking about this after a few beers. One of the things one of my good friends and I talk about is the genius of Domino's Pizza coming from bankruptcy to in the fight.
Yeah.
And Harvard Business Review actually has a long story on the economic revitalization of that pizza chain. They rebranded themselves. They had the campaign, "Oh, yes, we did." They said, "We sucked. Here's how we got better ingredients."
Right.
This, the other.
But you're hitting on an important element here. Go ahead.
Right. The admission that you sucked.
Yes. And the way you word things really does matter.
Yes. Everything about it was intentional. Now, the logo was relatively the same, and they didn't change the name of the company, but everything else about it changed. And the next thing you know, Pizza Hut and Papa John's that were dominating, here comes this thing that had crashed and burned and had its time, and it's back in the fight. I know this is not about pizza, it's about football, but it's the same concept. You have to rebrand on the fly. Nothing short of it. You have to rebrand on the fly.
Yeah, now we can debate whether or not you need to rebrand the logo or not, but we can, and I know that the vast majority of the audience is going to say, yes, we got to go.
I'm not even trying to
Chief.
placate that.
We got to go Chief.
Get rid of Elvis, get rid of blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I'm not even trying to placate that. I'm just saying, like, it has to be that fundamental to the minds of kids to change, and for them to say, okay, it's the same guy, but this does feel different.
Well, you've got to elicit a sense of change. You got to make it feel fresh.
This is where the football only facility helps. Those meetings will be in a different building. You've got different, like everything psychologically about how you approach this has to be on that level.
Yeah. And so what's interesting with all of this is that along the way, you really get into, it's so easy. This has tentacles. It's so easy because you start with this big picture, larger than life discussion about, hey man, this is so bad. He's got to scratch this and start fresh here and there. It can all feel so overwhelming. I keep using the analogy of some poor bastard who's 400 pounds and needs to weigh 180 and is confronting the reality that over the last 30 years, they let themselves go. Now, remarkably, we got to 400 pounds in 1 year somehow. We went from svelte and the tip-top shape to a basket case in 1 season, if we're going to use the analogy for football. But
I didn't just eat Ben and Jerry's. I ate Ben and I ate Jerry.
Every day. Now, the thing of it is, either way, you say that and then you realize, you think, oh, it's too overwhelming. But you cannot be paralyzed by fear of taking the first step if you're the 400-pound man who wants to get to be 180. It's so easy. But Mike has to attack it in a way that's exciting. And almost, dare I say, kind of make fun of yourself as a means of acknowledging what just happened. You can't pretend or deflect or act as if, ... You have to say, boy, did I butcher that. Man, thank goodness for second chances. Thank goodness for an opportunity, because he loves to talk about that.
Young man, that's what life's about.
And it's a huge opportunity for him because it's the last one he's going to get. You butcher this and you're out of this job. You're not getting another big-time program.
Which is why, young man, despite the allegations against you, I'm willing to give you a second chance. I understand about second chances.
Son, it has nothing to do with the 4.32 that you ran in the 40 the other day that your coach called me about. I think you're a good young man who's just misunderstood. Those 7 felonies mean a lot to others. I'm about second chances around here.
Right. Those 9 losses in 10 games meant, a lot to people around here. You see how I'm communicating here? See the similarities here?
So at the end of the day, I think it'll be very interesting to see how much of it he takes on, how much of it he's willing to parse, how much of it he's willing to hand out, how many responsibilities he keeps on his own plate and how many he doles to others, and what he's willing to say publicly and behind the scenes, which we'll also get out. We'll find out from the kids themselves what's being branded, how Florida State is attacking this process of transformation. And I find that riveting regardless. I hate the reasons we're having to do it. I hate having to go through it. I hate every aspect of what this has been. It's disgusting. This is, in many ways, pretty close to unforgivable. I mean, that's why I keep saying to you, we talk about it a lot on and off the air, and I have said more than once as this has gone on and gotten uglier and uglier, that I at some point did reach the conclusion that perhaps we need to wash our hands of a guy that I like and a guy that has succeeded.
The good thing is when it gets pretty close to unforgivable, that's when the JCS PR firm walks through that door. That's where they specialize. Finding forgiveness in the unforgivable. The Jeff Cameron Show PR firm.
Yeah.
JCSPR.com.
Leaf through these placards, young man, at your hotel tonight. We'll talk about it in the morning. We'll get your head in the right spot. Here you go, Mike.
Now, you'll have memorized the first 4 of them by the time we meet. 6:45? Yeah? Okay, 6:45.
Whoo, buddy. Whoo, buddy. The frustration always devolves into this, but that's okay. Passionately care about this. Know your body, transform your life with my friends at DexaFit Tallahassee, right next to Bumpus. Go get a DEXA scan. It's the most accurate body composition available, at least in measuring bone density, muscle mass, or math. Hey, now. You'll find out where the subcutaneous and visceral fat is, and you'll say, we got to get rid of that. I need a game plan. Well, now I've got the data. I can track my progress. I can do it with the app. I can do all of those things. Perhaps we throw in a little red light therapy, soothing the sore muscles, reducing inflammation, rejuvenating your skin. They'll do both right now for just $99. It's normally near $200. Give them a call, 850-510-7728. Visit DexaFit Tallahassee's website in order to book. Know your body, transform your life this fall with DexaFit. You can always say Jeff25 when you call too. That'll let them know you heard it here, and you'll save 25%. That's a good thing. Jeff Cameron Show continues in a moment.
Surprising flavors, cultural authenticity, and unique adventures are some of the main ingredients that go into every single plate served at Café de Martín, Tallahassee's best Peruvian dining experience. Led by classically trained Chef Martín, passion for culture, passion for flavor, and a passion for people can be felt from the moment you step inside. Café de Martín also offers an unparalleled outdoor dining experience in the garden. Surrounded by vibrant flowers and plants, and nestled between carefully curated decor, the shaded and breezy outdoor garden features elegant live music regularly, and the romantic evening lighting makes Café de Martín the best place to share conversation and connect with the ones you love. Every dish is made from scratch, and every drink is handmade by trained bartenders, offering the very best margaritas and old fashions in the city. Take a trip to a Peruvian paradise right here in the capital city. Visit Café de Martín and El Bar on Capitol Circle Northeast in the Esposito Shopping Center. Open daily for lunch, happy hour, and dinner. Find the full menu online at cafedemartin.com.
Know your body and transform your life with DexaFit Tallahassee, your go-to for science-backed health insights. Their DEXA scan gives you the most accurate body composition available, measuring bone density, muscle mass, and both subcutaneous and visceral fat. Get the data you need to track progress and make real changes. Your VO2 max is the best indicator of health and longevity, but it offers more than just a number. It shows respiratory function, calories burned at different intensities, and whether your body burns fat or carbs, helping you train smarter. DexaFit's RMR test reveals how many calories you burn at rest and the type of fuel your body uses, so you can dial in your diet for weight loss, muscle gain, or maintenance. And their red light therapy soothes sore muscles, reduces inflammation, and rejuvenates your skin. Right now, get a DEXA scan and red light therapy for just $99. That's a $184 value. Call 850-510-7728 or visit DexaFit Tallahassee's website to book. Know your body and transform your life this fall with DexaFit.
Pinch a Penny Pools has the largest selection of premium hot springs hot tubs in the city. You might even call it Tallahassee's Hot Tub Hub. 12,000 square feet of hot tubs, with over 50 of them on site. Over 20,000 gallons of tub capacity to choose from. That's 4,620,000 cubic inches of hot tubs. But I digress. So why should you own a hot tub from Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas, you might ask? Well, I'll tell you. Number one, health benefits, of course. The healing powers of soaking in a hot bubbling pool of water go back centuries. Google it. Number two, Pinch a Penny has hot tubs with technology called Freshwater IQ. It gives you real-time chemical readings and tells you exactly what to add to keep the water at peak perfection, with automated analysis to help you control the chlorine and pH. It's hot tubs for dummies. Sign me up. Number three, they have the best prices, of course. Plus, you get a free accessory and no interest financing. Easy peasy. But if you don't want to take my word for it, check them out yourself. Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas. Locally owned, locally operated, and the easiest way to find relaxation at home.
Honey, I'm home.
We're in here, honey.
So why are all my friends here?
Have a seat, Dave. We need to talk about your problem.
Problem? I don't have a problem.
Dave, you do have a problem. A problem with your grill. Here's some pamphlets from Hearth and Patio. They are waiting for your call to help you upgrade your grill.
If you or someone you know needs a grilling intervention, call Hearth and Patio today at 850-727-4282. That's 850-727-4282 or hearthpatiotallahassee.com.
I'm attorney Carrie Roan with Basic Brooks Law Offices, and we believe you. Now, what does that mean? Over and over, we hear from the people that we represent that when they shared their story of how they were injured, either law enforcement, insurance companies, or business owners didn't believe their story. That's why you need an attorney who has your back no matter what. An attorney who starts by believing that you're telling the truth. We are Basic Brooks, and we believe you. Let's talk. 850-777-7777.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50. For those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
More football tonight. More distractions if you need them, at least in the way of betting football games, watching football games. You know the deal. You're just surviving until you get to Thursday a lot of times. But as for tonight, Ohio and Kent, and by the way, it tugs at my heartstrings. It always will. because of a man named Buccaneer Chris. Wherever you are out there, Buccaneer Chris, it was 25 years ago, 26 years ago that you called in to make picks against me. And I said Kent at Ohio. This was before Kent went back to Kent State. And he said, I don't know. I'll take Kent State. And I said, well, that's great. They're not playing. It's Kent at Ohio. He said, okay, I'll take Ohio State. And I said, they're not playing, Buccaneer Chris. Kent at Ohio. And he finally said, and got it wrong again, and I lost my mind. And then you hear my producer laughing hysterically, and it became a promo.
It made the CD.
Yeah,
you had a CD
I forgot
release.
about that CD. Yeah.
It's
That's
out
how
there.
old I am. The CD release occurred.
How much did you make off of that? A couple of bucks?
I don't remember. It's not a lot. It wasn't life-altering, obviously.
At least a night out at a bar?
Yes, easily. We sold all copies. I remember going to Halligan's to play darts, rest in peace, buddy, and asked him if I could sell CDs there. It's because a lot of the people that listen to the show were regular in the dart league at Halligan's, and they were like, yeah, sure, you bring your CDs in. That's fine. Sell them here, which I'm sure is probably illegal. I don't know. I never reported that money.
Well, that part of it, I don't think like selling merch at a restaurant.
No, I
is
think
illegal.
I don't think it is.
Bands do that all the time.
Yeah. No, but anyhow, they sold out quick.
So I was hoping, I just felt something in the air, like maybe this Friday night. I know you'll be up in Chicago.
I will be.
That there's going to be some good college football. It just, in November, it feels like there's one game where you say, oh, that could, or a Thursday night game of yesterday. Remember the Beat the Nerds or Go Nerds? Sorry, the Go Nerds.
Yeah,
party?
Stanford, Oregon.
Stanford, Oregon. That was a Thursday night.
Iowa, UCLA, Cal, Wake, Rice, Memphis.
All I know is Rice.
Thank you. Basmati. New Mexico and San Diego State. Those are your Friday night games.
That's not terrible, though.
No, there's some name brands there. I mean, who could look the other way when Wake's on the field?
Maybe you could do a triple-decker with the first three, culminating with Rice and Memphis.
Cal, a 7-point favorite over Wake Forest in said game. Iowa, just a 4.5-point favorite on the road against UCLA. Wow.
Interesting.
Wow, that is interesting. What are you trying to say to us, NCAA?
You've had pretty good luck with the I dare you bets in college football.
This year I have. Mostly Illinois finally caught up to me. Now, I did get the one where they were 3.5-point underdogs. I was like, what?
Right.
No, they're going to win the game.
Yeah,
They
the
did.
BYU.
Yeah.
BYU CF.
Yep. Didn't understand that line. I was like, I'm not going to outthink the room here. BYU's better than UCF. I'm taking BYU. That's the end of it. Well, this past Friday, I did it again. I won good money on South Florida beating FAU's ass. Why is that? What is this? Why is this a 2.5-point spread? Give me South Florida. They're going to beat that ass. And they beat that ass. And then we had the Tom Herman exchange afterwards, which was great.
I'm trying to run him down.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Little cry baby. It was glorious. But there's a couple of
USF's head man should have given him a kiss on the forehead. Good night. Good night, Tom.
See the death stare he gave him as they were walking across the midfield? Jesus, you hate Tom Herman. I mean, you hate that man.
Put her there, partner.
Yeah, that was good. Which of those games are you most excited about, Tom, since you brought up Friday Night Football?
Yeah, well, Iowa UCLA is the one.
9 o'clock, buddy.
I'm sure that Fox will have it in 4K, too, which just makes all the difference in the world. Really does.
I love my 4K as well, ever switching over there to the YouTube TV at your behest, but I don't know that I notice too terribly much of a difference.
No, there is.
There is a difference. I just don't see where I'm like,
oh, the grass blades.
Well,
that's the difference.
I will tell you, the place you want to watch 4K football, meaning not on your TV, but rather the game that you want to be captured in 4K, is any game in the Rose Bowl. And this one will be played in Pasadena at the Rose Bowl. That'll be gorgeous.
Yeah, the natural grass turf in general. Like, the MLB presentation, you see that infield. Oh, my God, the stark differences in the colors.
You can smell the freshly shorn grass and the hot dog and popcorn and the smell of, well, man, forget about it.
Also,
beer on tap.
If you have a giant television, and you do.
I do.
And you sit a little bit closer to it, you see the blur around the cleats of the players. It doesn't have the
Can't quite
depth.
capture it. Yeah.
4K, no problem. So in a situation where you have Rice and Memphis,
Rice,
all I know is Rice and Memphis.
Yeah.
And Iowa UCLA. That's a game to me that's about even interest-wise. I get one's power and one's not. But yeah, Iowa football doesn't inspire you, but the 4K will push me to that side.
I don't mind watching Iowa. They've been better this year with the offense, and I love their colors, and I like their tradition. I rather enjoy Iowa.
They've dropped 40 this year.
More than once.
Yeah.
Their offense is a hell of a lot better than Florida State's.
The total in that game is only 44.5.
That's because they don't think UCLA is going to score. Don't look now. Very underrated game on Saturday. That is Navy in South Florida. Ooh. That is Navy -3. Look out, Navy. That's a toughie. I'm leaning a little South Florida there, Tommy. So let you know, Redemption Thursday is tomorrow. Maybe on the slate.
All right. I'm interested to see if you have any of the Friday ones on the slate.
Look out, Dabo. Clemson on the road against Virginia Tech this weekend.
Ooh. All right.
On the heels of a loss that have left the Clemson faithful reeling. Calling him names as he exited the field. Throwing stuff down onto the field.
Is that right? They called him names?
Well, there was a report of some little exchange. It's getting dicey.
Well, I'm telling you, here's another fan base throwing stuff on the field. You saw what happened with Kelsey.
Well, Kelsey should have slammed that guy's cell phone.
People are too familiar, man.
Too familiar, feeling like you can just say and do anything. By the way, you see that guy's face when Kelsey grabbed that cell phone?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. It's all fun and games till dude turns around.
I turn around. Oh, you want to pick it up? You can't pick it up.
Man, that guy, the look on his face is the same look that the kid got when LeGarrette Blount.
Oh, man. What a different era. Oregon, Boise?
Buddy.
Think about how different an era for Oregon and Boise State. And my guy with the Titans.
Oh, yeah, that was... Hey, next hour, you guys are going to hear me mention this about the get-together tomorrow with my friends at Tried and True Consulting in order to raise some money and food, if you will, to help feed those friends that are in dire straits after all these storms. The second harvest of the Big Bend, this is what we're doing with them. It's at Barrel Proof Lounge. They're Midtown. From 4 to 7, you can win prizes, live music. If you bring a couple of cans or a few bucks, you get a drink ticket free. So you get Social Vegan Vodka that's going to be there. I'm really, really pumped about all this. I'm going to talk to you about it again next hour, but I just want to make mention of it again because that last hour is recorded, and some of you don't always stick on. Some of you do, but it's a good hour, so I would. And then also I'll make mention of the details and everything. But I just wanted to let you know. Jeff Cameron Show 93.3, Real Talk Radio, and Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
A cyclist and a pedestrian were injured in separate incidents that took place in the capital city over the weekend. A 26-year-old man was hit on West Tennessee Street near Poplar Drive. That man was walking eastbound in the inside lane. A car, also traveling east, tried to swerve to miss the man, but struck him with the passenger side mirror. The driver stopped at the scene. EMS transported the victim to a hospital with serious injuries. Then a cyclist got hit while crossing the lanes of State Road 20 east of Chares Cross Road. Highway Patrol's report says the cyclist was a 72-year-old woman from Madison. She entered the path of an eastbound car. Despite swerving to try to miss the cyclist, the driver clipped the rear tire of the woman's bike. The woman was thrown from her bike and suffered serious injuries. The driver involved in the incident also stopped at the scene. This is Rachel Anay with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Cloudy skies expected this afternoon with thunderstorms likely. Highs around 79, winds out of the east 5 to 10 miles per hour. Overcast skies again tonight, thunderstorms likely. Lows level off around 73. Chance for storms tomorrow. Highs level off around 82, overcast. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Currently 80.
Did you know that the survivability of a metal roof far exceeds that of a traditional shingle roof? At Metal Roofing Sales of Tallahassee, we have new state-of-the-art roll formers that produce the highest quality Versa panel, PBR panel, and standing seam options. And we will guarantee to match or beat any local competitor's pricing. We're a family-owned business ready to offer you the best sales and installation service in the area. And don't forget about our veterans and first responders discounts. Call Metal Roofing Sales today, 850-536-9123, or visit us online at metalroofing.net.
There he is. Haven't seen this guy since, what was it? Oh, shoot. U2 at the Sphere in Las Vegas, baby.
Hey, how about that, man? Wasn't that fun?
Good show. Good show. Everything about it. Nearly perfect. Nearly perfect.
I had everything I could possibly want.
I wanted one thing, couldn't find it, and I looked everywhere. No Cubans.
What do you mean?
No Cubans.
There was Cubans.
No, I didn't see any Cubans.
Dude, I'm sure there was Cubans there. I mean,
No. I walked around. There was a moment right before the show. I thought, got to find some Cubans. Nothing.
Dude, there's Cubans. There was Cubans. I'm sure there was Cubans.
In Las Vegas?
In Las Vegas.
No Cubans in Vegas.
There's Cubans in Vegas, man.
Eddie, there were no Cubans.
Chef.
The sandwich. There were no Cuban sandwiches. You're Cuban. Of course I know there were Cubans there.
Oh, the sandwich. Yeah, no, there probably wasn't many there in Vegas.
No Cubans.
No, not yet.
Florida, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
How'd the MRI go? Thanks, Kayvon. Going to find out in hour 3 when I leave here. And roll on over to find out from the doctor himself, who will go over the results. He's asking in regards to my son's MRI. We get the results back and they want to consult. Got to be honest with you guys. Here you go. I'll just air it out there. I mean, we're already talking about my son's medical. Goodness gracious. I would just say that anytime you have x-rays or an MRI done, especially on an injury, and they say, we'll call you back to let you know what the results say, and then the callback is, we'd like you to come by the office tomorrow so we can go over the results, you get a little nervous. You're not in love with that phone call. Most of the time I like the phone call that's, we checked it, it's all good. Let's rest it up for a little while here, then get back after your workouts in a few weeks. Instead, the come on in is a little unnerving.
Yeah. We've all gone through that, haven't we?
Yeah.
At some point where a doctor needs to see you for something extra. I know as I was ruling out different potential problems with my balance issues.
Yeah. Before you realize it was vertigo?
Well, yes, it was diagnosed, but they wanted to confirm it, which means they have to do a brain MRI. And you're just like, okay. And the MRI was scheduled up in Brooklyn about 7 weeks before the follow-up appointment. And I'm like, hey, what if it's, bad news? They say, oh, well, don't worry. If it's bad news, we'll call you and we'll just schedule something in sooner because then you become a priority patient.
Right.
But if you don't hear from us, it'll be fine. And so you wait and you go, oh God.
So way back when, Tom, the best of those sort of where the doctors or the nurses or whomever it is that's going to call you doesn't consider the way that our brains rat trap when there are no answers, when you're in limbo, is way back when I was in college. I had a cat named Scratch, great cat. And anyhow, he quite literally ended up, he was kneading on my leg and scratched the inside of my thigh, like close to there.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. And I was like, hey, buddy. And I moved him, no big deal. 3 days later, I had a massive lump that I was like, what in the hell?
Whoa.
Fast forward. I'm like, well, we got to get this checked out. This is not good. So I didn't get it checked out. And the one doctor's like, well, this is amazing. I'll explain more in a bit. I think this is what is commonly referred to as cat scratch fever. So I was
that could cause a lump though?
This did, yes. Anyhow, long story short, it was really nothing. It was an infection. Yeah, who was she, Jeff? That's funny. Came on. Anyhow, what ended up happening was this nurse calls and like, well, we got to do a few more tests, and I want you to come in, and we need to do another blood test. And when I was like, oh, okay. And she goes, well, we have to rule out HIV.
Oh my God. That's like something out of Arrested Development.
What a crazy, this is like the early 90s, Tom. I was like, what a thing to say. I'm like, what? What do you mean? What do you mean? And yeah, man. 24 hours from the call till I go in to give the blood. I'm like, this is all I'm thinking about. I was in a black Nissan Pulsar driving over to class going, I'm going to die. I'm going to die.
Yikes.
I know. And it ended up being, I was fine. Obviously, I'm here now. All good to go.
Yeah, you never expect to get that kind of a passing remark. When I was, again, going through this process, I had blood work done for this and that.
Yes.
And the doctor said, I hope you don't mind. I ordered a bunch of tests just so you know, you don't have HIV or AIDS or any STDs. I'm like, well, I certainly would hope not.
I think I would have known.
Probably. I mean, come on now. But he's like, just so you know, I ordered those. You don't have it. I'm like, I never. But you know what? That's way better than having to think about it because, well, there's no way I could.
Right. The worst would be like, I ordered a bunch of tests and listen, we're going to redo this one.
Oh yeah. Right. Well, he said it in passing because he's flipping through the page. He's like, you look good here. You look good here. Your lipids, all that. This is all good. Oh, by the way, I scheduled all that. You're fine there. Well, okay.
I begin every conversation with my doctor when he walks in after he's got all the blood work done for your annual checkup. As soon as he walks in, I go, what are the lipids telling you, doc? I always say it. He always chuckles and shakes his head. How are the lipids? Everything good with the lipids? Come on, I need to know what the lipids tell you. Yeah, that's, you get nervous. You get nervous. But yeah, we'll find out today. I'm just a little nervous. He's got to walk all around Chicago regardless. They may end up saying, listen, you need surgery next week. And I'm going to say, well, that's good. Because we're going to Chicago. We're getting on a plane. We're leaving. You're going to hobble your ass around Chicago.
You could get him one of those scooters, for the one leg. You could priority board all of it. Think about it.
Yeah, it could be my ticket to the pre-boarding, huh?
You should go to a theme park while you're at it.
Yeah. And walk really slowly. I love when that happens. Love being behind folks at the theme park who are not only unnecessarily perhaps in a cart, but also taking their sweet time. That's a toughie.
Oh, they got to back up. Beep, beep. Excuse me. Indignant.
What were the lanes? What would you tell me that there's now in addition to the fast lanes or the speed lanes or whatever the hell they're called at Disney anymore? It's been so long since I've been to Disney.
God.
Now, isn't it now like the super speed?
They've just redone the whole thing again. I had memorized that, buddy. I had it down. There was Lightning Lane Plus, Genie Plus.
By the way, Lightning Lane Plus, what a bunch of a-holes. You got to be kidding me, right? So I've paid for the speed pass, and now I've got the Lightning Lane, but I've got to get the Lightning Lane Plus.
Yeah, so the Genie Plus could get you on rides. Well, Robin Williams Genies. Put it on the app. It's nice. Bada beep, bada boop.
Yeah.
And that gives you a certain amount of rides.
For just a few dollars more.
That's correct. But you also can sign up a half an hour earlier, actually several hours earlier if you stay on property. So again, there's just these increments. But if you're going to do it, we do it big then. The problem now is that they've got Genie Plus eliminated. Now they also have this one for the bougie of the bougie. Get this. Your ticket to get in could be $200-$300. For another $200 or $300.
Just another $200 or $300.
Double the price. You could be on the fast pass on every line all day.
I would assume that's what that is when you buy it to begin with.
No, it's just a la carte or you have
No. So I buy the Genie or the Fast Pass, and I'm not guaranteed to utilize said Genie or Fast Pass for every ride that I want to go on?
So I think it's 6 a.m., might be 7 a.m. You can book your first one of the day, and you're in that priority lane and good to go for your first ride of the day when the park opens, all right? Once you get through your first ride, then you can book the next one. So you can't hoard them. That's the whole game that you play.
I want the day pass. I want Genie for the day.
Well, you'll be spending double the admission price.
Well, with that, I better not have to redo anything. I ought to be like, yeah, I'm floating all over to the front of the bus.
But if you're going to do that, you also have to stay at one of the deluxe resorts.
Would love to have been part of the grand cabal of screwing.
It's not going over well.
How great would that have been to sit down with everybody and go, now listen, Bob, you're getting carried away. We can screw him again. Screw him again. Let him know that is just from 7 a.m. to noon. if you want to continue to have a good time after lunch, well, you're going to have to re-up. And that'll get you to early evening. Now, if you're there for the night, we're going to have a third payment, sir.
Well, but Rich, they are spending on average about $50 a person a meal. Shouldn't we give them a break of some kind?
Fire this man. Does he not understand the meeting we're in?
They get a 10% discount.
How did we hire this guy?
They get a 10% discount on food only, not alcohol, of course, with an annual pass. So you know what, Bob? They can buy an annual pass.
Yeah. Now, listen, I want to introduce to you today here, not just like we did a year ago, the brilliance of the Genie. We now have Genie Plus.
That's right.
What's Genie Plus? Oh, it's so much better than Genie. Wait till I tell you all about it. It's double the cost of Genie.
That's right.
Because it's Genie Plus. What do they get? Rich? No, we get rich, Bob.
Yeah.
But Genie Plus is a special window. And here's the rub. That window is from 12 to 2, just after lunch.
Well, isn't that what the Fast Pass was for free?
They can still have the Fast Pass, Bob, but the Genie Plus usurps the Fast Pass. And the Fast Pass people understand this because they have not paid for Genie Plus.
Well, and Fast Pass doesn't exist for free anymore. So,
Never should have.
That's right. That was dumb.
Final hour, forthcoming. Stay with Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
Your friendly neighborhood bar and grill just got a whole lot closer to home. You can now order delicious Smitty's Tap House and Grill for delivery directly to your doorstep. Just visit Smitty'sTapHouse.com, click the Order Online button, and choose pickup or delivery. Enjoy Smitty's famous handmade pretzel with beer cheese, juicy pub burger, or even the amazing schnitzel sandwich, delivered fresh right to your doorstep. Support local and order online today for takeout or delivery at Smitty'sTapHouse.com, where everybody knows his name.
This announcement is brought to you by Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey.
If you're driving right now, you should know there's an 80% chance that the cars all around you don't carry any bodily injury insurance. Most people don't realize it, but in Florida, all the law requires is that drivers carry property damage insurance. This means that the texting teen drifting over into your lane or the drag racer on your rear bumper have no way of compensating you or your loved ones when they cause a crash. And this should scare the hell out of you. Fortunately, there's an easy way to protect your family from this, and it's called uninsured motorist coverage. It's an absolute must, but a lot of insurance companies are convincing folks to drop it just to save a few dollars. Take it from the personal injury experts. Don't. At Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey, we've recovered millions of dollars in uninsured motorist coverage in crashes where our clients would have otherwise received nothing. So please, call your agent right now and make sure you have uninsured motorist coverage on your policy. We hope you'll never need it, but we'll be here for you if you ever do. Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey. Don't settle for less.
Wooden Glass has been taking care of families since 1945.
Experienced, reliable professionals who offer only the best, like Wooden's top-of-the-line bath enclosures. Eye-catching storefronts are a specialty at Wooden Glass, and they provide precise installation.
Wooden Glass, Tallahassee's first family in glass. Online at woodenglass.com. Call 850-222-5781.
Every journey starts with a first step, a daring step. But what they don't say about first steps is that you have to keep going, taking step after step, and eventually you take a big leap, accomplishing more than you ever thought possible. After 57 years, Tallahassee Community College is soaring even higher, and we're now officially Tallahassee State College. We invite you to take a step and visit Tallahassee State College. Learn more at tsc.fl.edu.
From the championship stage to coaching change and everything in between, Warchant.com remains your home for the best FSU football coverage in the business. Brutally honest columns and features, market-leading multimedia presence across video and podcast, the largest FSU fan community with a staff that combines for over 100 years of experience covering the Noles. When change comes, Warchant.com is your home for analysis from every angle. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source. Sign up today.
WBFT Gretna, Tallahassee. This is Real Talk 93.3. More of the Jeff Cameron Show is coming up next. Your sports